So for all of you the unit study guide. Which is the unit study guide? The unit study guide is the one that looked an awful lot like this, Mr. Dewick. The one that looked an awful lot like this. Clip. Bonk. This one. And the reason is I used this to create the test. It was a Word document. I hit File, Save As. I changed the numbers and tweaked a few of the written questions. I changed the numbers and replaced a few of the multiple choice questions. But if you understand how to do every question on here, and you can get every question on here right, you're going to get at least 80% minimum. Okay? Now, I have also given you review number 1. Thunk. And a few other things. So I'll start out by saying any questions from any of these that you want me to go over, now is your chance to ask. Yep.
Number 47.
From where?
On unit 2 would be number 1.
This one here, number 47? Love to. This one, 8c squared. What are the instructions, first of all? It says, write each as a mixed radical in simplest form. Okay, I can do that. So for writing as a mixed radical in simplest form, I'm going to pause for a second as kids walk in. 47, by the way, Rachel, this is a tricky question. So I would say to you, this is not like a nice, easy one. Okay? Come on, Mr. Dewick. Clip. 47. Yes, you can leave now. Okay. So it wants me, when it says to write this in simplest radical form, it wants me to write it as something root something if necessary. How would I do that? Well, the first thing that I would do, I'm going to do a real similar question to this, okay? What if I gave you simplify 8 root 20? What would you do? Because this will be on your test as well. How would you do that? Something you'd do first before you did anything else. That's how I taught you. Naomi, I'd rewrite the 8 because it's not going to go back in, because it's already out of the square root. And when it says write in simplest radical form, what it's really saying is find any perfect squares that are hidden inside there. Then I would rewrite the 20. I would rewrite the root 20 as root what? Root what? And then I would say to myself, self, what is the square root of 4? Yes? Then I would say to myself, self, 8 and a 2 in front with brackets, I think that's multiplying. How can I write 8 times 2 as a single solitary number?
16.
So you're good with numbers. Okay? Now I'm going to give you the same question but slightly different. I'm going to give you, instead of a 20 inside there, I'm going to give you a 36 inside there. Now, why did I pick a 36? Why is 36 special? It's a perfect square. Yeah. This one, you know what I would still do first? Write the 8. And then I would say, you know what? I don't need to try writing the square root of 36 as something root something, because the square root of 36 actually works out evenly. I can do it. Root nothing. Oh, and then instead of writing 8 bracket 6, I would write that as... Ready? You know what I'm going to do first? Then I look at what's inside the square root, c squared. That's a perfect square. I can take the square root of it already, just like that 36. I don't need to rewrite it. I don't. You know what the square root of c squared is? Not root anymore. Didn't you take the square root of it? You know what the square root of c squared is? And then I would tidy that up and I would say I can write that as 8c. Okay? This is in simplest radical form, only there is no more radical. You ready to go? You ready to go? Oh, okay. Because you're writing today, but I don't have time to do a tutorial for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, that's going to be on the internet too. Weird. Yep.
50 on unit 2.
Rachel, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. 15 where?
No, 50.
50?
Yeah, on unit 2 with unit 1.
Right here?
Yeah.
5, 4th root 3.
Yeah.
And the instructions still say write each as a mixed radical and simplest radical form. In other words, they don't want you to go backwards and write it as an entire radical with nothing in the front. Okay. You ready? I'm going to start out looking at a similar question, but with square roots, because we're happier with square roots. I'm going to say, what if I gave you 7 square root 5? And I said, simplify. It's a trick question. You know why? You can't break a 5 down into, it's already simplified. It already is in simplest radical form. Why? Because there are no perfect squares that go into the 5. Even if I put a 10 there, I mean, you can write it as root 2, root 5, but that doesn't help because none of those are perfect squares either. 7 root 10 is in simplest radical form already. This isn't a square root, though. What kind of a root is this? 4th root. 4th roots are, perfect fourths are 2 to the 4th, which is 16, 3 to the 4th, which is 81, 5 to the 4th, which is 600, 4 to the 4th, Mr. Dewick. 4 to the 4th, I think, is 256. 5 to the 4th is 625. Darian, can I write that 3 as any of those? Then you know what? It's as though I gave you this fraction and said reduce to lowest terms. Ready is! It's the same kind of an idea, but with roots. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Next! Any others? This is good stuff you guys are asking. Again, a nice tricky. That one, by the way, so easy that it's tough, right? Oh, it's done already. Will I give you one like that on your test? I don't know. It's kind of cheap.
49.
49, we're sticking in here. Clip. 49. Were you listening to my explanation for Darian just now?
Yeah.
Because you know what? What kind of a root is it? Is it square root? Say no. Is it cube root? Say no. Is it 4th root? Say yes. Can I write 2 as something times something? Nope. That's already simplified. Let me make sure I did that on my answer key. Hopefully I did that. Yeah, fit width. Okay, maybe, hang on. Each mixed, you know what? Okay, now I know why you guys are so confused. These instructions are wrong. I'll have to fix that. So I need to apologize to Rachel and to Darian because the instructions say write in simplest radical form,
Because when I was checking my answers, like,
but really what they meant to say was write as an entire radical, and I'm going to fix that on my original because that's what I did, and that makes more sense because otherwise these are all already all simplified, which would mean you would just rewrite these questions, which would be kind of dumb. So let's take all that back and say, whoops. Let's go get rid of, oh heck, dunk, all that, and that, and that. And so really the instructions, what they should say is write as an entire radical. And you can see I didn't even read the instructions. When I was doing the answer key, I glanced at the question and I said, oh, these don't simplify. I think they want me to go the other way. Are you ready, Rachel? Let's go back to your question then. I already have the c squared inside the perfect square. I want to write the 8 inside a perfect square. Where'd that 8 come from? Angela? 64. This must have been that. That's where it came from. You okay with that? Yeah. Darian, going to your question. I think you asked this one, number 50.
Yeah, well, that's just because I was confused.
Yeah,
So
but let's do it anyways. I have the 4th root of 3. Where'd that 5 come from? It came from whatever that is. Why 5 to the 4th? Because, Amy, what root are we talking about here? 4th root. And some people said, Mr. Duick, I know that 5 to the 4th is 625, which it is. The original question was 625 times 3 is 1875. And now, Rachel, I can answer your question. There's a 4th root of 2. There must have been a 4th root of something. What was here? 3 to the 4th. Which is what? Really, the 4th root of 81. 4th root of 2. Which is what? 4th root of 162. By the way, maybe 3 of those on your test, probably 2, probably 1. Can't remember now, but, well, I have it right here. 1, 2. You know what? There's only 1 or 2 higher order roots, like cube root, 4th root. I gave you more in practice. Anthony Nee. Rachel, did I answer your question okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Yo.
For 46 on the same like with you,
Yo.
it's 5 and then the root y. Would it be 25 y? Like root 25 y?
Root 25y. Yep. Anthony.
45?
45 from here?
Or 45, I can't tell if it's the percent.
It's x cube root x.
Okay, that's what I couldn't tell.
Do it anyways. By the way, again, you guys are asking me fairly advanced questions. This is good. Of course, some of you are saying, I don't know how to do the basic ones. Okay, well, we'll talk about that too. I would rewrite this as, well, there is a cube root of x. Where'd that x in front come from? It must have come from that. The cube root of x cubed. Hey, you know what? This must have once been the cube root of x to the 4th, I think. That was your question, Anthony? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
I had 8 on Unit 2 study guide.
Okay, number 8. Says order these numbers from smallest value to largest value. Copy. By the way, you guys can write this down if you want to, or if you ask me, I can print this up for you after the fact, whichever you learn best. Also, weird glitch occurring. You guys are getting 5 11s in your question for number 11. That's not appearing in my original documents. I have no idea what's going on there. But anyways, it's number 11. Don't freak out. Okay. You may remember we did a lesson, Darian, where we estimated square roots. Okay. So I'm going to try doing this if I can, as much as I can, without a calculator. I may have to bail, but we'll see. Certainly, I can tell you what this second one works out to exactly. What? 3. Then I'm going to say, okay, this is -3 times the square root of 2. What is the square root of 2 roughly? I don't know. Well, hang on, let me pause. Sorry for the interruption. Square root of 2. Well, what's the square root of 4?
2.
What's the square root of 1? 1. So I know the square root of 2 is between 1 and 2, and closer to 1 than 2. If I had to guess, I might tend to guess around 1.4, 1.3. Yeah, but I'm trying to do this with a calculator. I know it's 1.4142, but that's because I'm a nerd. What is negative 3 times 1.4? Well, what's negative 3 times 14? Negative 42. So negative 3 times 1.4, the decimal would drop down. Approximately. Okay? What's the square root of 3, roughly? Well, square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 3, I'm going to say around maybe 1.7-ish. I think this is around 2 times 1.7-ish. It's around, well, what's 2 times 17? 34. So 2 times 1.7, it's around 3.4. What's the square root of 7, roughly? 2 point something? 2.2, 2.3? I don't know. I'll go 2.2. This is roughly negative 2 times 2.2, which is negative 4.4, approximately. It says put these in the order from smallest to biggest. Okay, so out of this number, this number, this number, and this number, which of those is the smallest number? Wrong, wrong. Which of these is the next smallest number?
Negative 4.2.
It doesn't help at all. Which of these is the next smallest number? Ah.
Oh, it's very good.
Ah. I think it's that. Is that what it says in the answer key?
In the answer key, it's letter D.
Letter D? Okay.
Yeah, but I tried in the back.
Hang on, let me double check. I might have made a mistake on my answer key. Okay, we're back. Sorry, but I got to multitask here like crazy. So I picked D as my answer wrong. Let me see, Mr. Dewick. I said 3 came before 2. 2 times, well, let's see. Square root of 3 times 2 is 3.46. I think C is correct, so my answer key is wrong. Amy, you said, is there going to be a question like this on your test? I don't like these numbers being all that unclear. I wouldn't have a problem giving you some clearer numbers and saying which one's bigger. Now, you'll have a calculator on your test. The reason I did these without a calculator, on the provincial, this would be a great non-calc question. And it shows up almost every year. But that's in June. We'll practice that when we get closer. Answer your question, okay? So I think the answer is C. Let me pause and fix my answer key. Yep, which one? So, sorry, mistaken my answer key. I'll stay after school today till 4 o'clock. Oh, I probably will anyways. Yep, Brianna.
13 on
Unit 2 study guide. This one here, number 13. This one here, yes. I like this question. So it says, express as a mixed radical in simplest form. Simplify. Clip. This one here. So, numbers first, then letters. Are you ready? Here we go. How can I write root 24? It's square root, not cube root, not fourth root. That's good. How can I write root 24? How can I... Amy. Right? And then I look at the a cubed. Is a cubed a perfect square? Can I take the square root of a cubed evenly? So how can I write it? Root a squared, root a. There's my root a cubed in disguise. Yes. Is b squared a perfect square? Oh, What is the square root of b squared? Get rid of the square root. I took care of it. I'm just going to rewrite the b. Let's do all of the perfect squares now. Brianna, what's the square root of 4? And I'll cross that out. I'm going to leave the root 6. I'll come back to it. What's the square root of a squared? Cross that out. Leave the root a. Oh, and there's a b, which I already took the square root of. Yes? Cross that out. That's what's in front. Oh, you know what? Look up. No. Right? No. Right? No. Right? We're technically, okay, let's keep going. What's left behind? I guess a root 6a. So if that was a written question, I'd expect you to go further. But as it turned out here, once I had the front, I was good. In fact, you know what you could have done if you wanted to be really, really quick? You could have said, hey, Mr. Duick, b squared is a perfect square. There can't be a b left behind. Those are both wrong. A squared is not a perfect square. There has to be an a left behind. That one's also wrong. You could have got it without doing the question. Yeah, I see that afterwards. Yeah, I know. Next. Yo. There's one right here.
Can you do another one?
Yep.
The one that has some alignment?
Oh, Pythagoras. Sure. I'll steal the dot. What, that's from the review?
From the quiz, unit 2 quiz 2.
Okay. Oh, you want one of these puppies? No, it's first. No. Foundations of Math 10. Quiz 3, like this guy here? Like something with a yucky line like that there?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that'll be a little harder than you'll find on the test. I think I kept it fairly straight Pythagoras, but let's make one up. Let's go, I'm going to freehand it. It's going to be ugly. Yump, 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 yump. Okay, I can do better than that, Mr. Duick. Let's try that again. Okay. And let's suppose that I told you that this was 2 root 3 long. Let's suppose I said that this was root 6 long. Let's suppose that I said that this was root 12 long. Is this going to work, Mr. Duick? How about 4 root 12 long? And I said, how long is that? I think this will work. Yep. Well, we would solve 2 little triangles. We would solve this one. And we would solve this one. The problem is, in this triangle, Angela, I don't know that, and I need 2 numbers to find the third using Pythagoras. I do have 2 numbers here, though, so why don't I call this, and that's also the same as that line over there, isn't it? Okay, Pythagoras says, yes? Pythagoras says root 6 squared plus y squared equals 2 root 3 squared. Okay. Oh, what's root 6 squared?
Root 6. 6.
Just plain old 6. The y squared drops down. Ooh, this one's a little trickier. What's 2 root 3 squared? What's 2 root 3 times 2 root 3?
2 root 3.
Ready? What's 2 squared? What's root 3 squared? No. What's root 3 squared? 3. It's root 3. What's right? Ready? Scene 1, act 1, take 2. Ready? 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 What's 2 squared?
4.
What's root 3 squared? What could I write instead of 4, 3? That's your equation. How would I get the y squared by itself? I'll get y squared equals 6. I'll get y equals root 6, which means this right here is root 6. And then I would get another Pythagoras equation. I would get root 6 all squared plus 4 root 12 all squared equals x all squared. What's root 6 squared? 6 plus, what's 4 root 12 all squared? It's going to be a 16, 4 squared, and it's going to be a 12, root 12 squared. It's going to be whatever 16 times 12 is. It's going to be 6 plus 192. X squared is going to be 198. How do I get rid of a squared? Put it right on top right there. 198, does that simplify? I bet you it does. Let's see. 198 divided by 2. Oh, 198 divided by 9. It's 9 times 22. Does 22 break down at all? Into perfect squares? So this is root 9, root 22, or that. There's your final answer. I'm not going to give you a two-stepper. You can absolutely expect a one-step Pythagoras question, or maybe 2 one-step Pythagoras questions. Is that okay? So definitely you can expect something like, hello, study guide. Something like number 19 or number 20. Although I would feel comfortable putting the X on the side as well. Yes, Darian, my friend.
Assignment number 4, 10G.
Assignment number 4, we're going way back. (10G). Expressed as a mixed radical in simplest form. Oh, this bat. Ooh, wow. Hi. Yeah. Eesh. This one, 11. This puppy here? Wow. That one? Make it a little bigger so you can read it. Okay. It says write it as a mixed radical in simplest radical form. In other words, it doesn't want me to put the 11 and the x to the 7th and the y to the 15th back into the square root. It wants me to pull out any perfect squares that are still hidden in the square root. Okay. You know what I'm going to do first? Hey, Rachel, what am I going to do first here?
Keep the
Yes. Okay. I feel better. It's no longer blank. Now I'm going to try and break that 242 down. I'm going to write it as something. Oh, sorry. Root something, root something. What the heck is 242?
I did 2 and
121 times 2? By the way, 2 and 121, how about always say the perfect square first? Because that's what I want in front. Yep, that works. Because 121 is 11 times 11, yes? Okay, let's keep going. Oh, and one of my 1's vanished up in the front here for some reason. X to the 9th, is that a perfect square? Now, I know 9 is, but it's an exponent, so it's going to behave differently. Is x to the 9th a perfect square?
Yeah. Isn't it x to the 3?
No, because x to the 3 times x to the 3 is x to the 6th. Is x to the 9th a perfect square? It is not. It is actually root x to the 8th, root x. Is y to the 10th a perfect square? Yes. What's the square root of y to the 10th? Then let's take it as a square root and not bother writing the square root symbol anymore. Let us write an equal sign. Yes, let's. Let's take all our square roots. I got an 11 in front. I got an x to the 7th. I got a y to the 15th. Oh, what is the square root of 121?
I'm going to have another 11 in the front, and I've taken care of that bad boy. Can I take the square root of 2 evenly? No, come back to it. Can I take the square root of x to the 8th evenly? Yeah, what is it? Took care of that bad boy. Can I take the square root of x evenly? Nope. Can I take the square root of y to the 5th evenly? Oh, you know what? I already did, so it's just going to drop down like a domino. And left behind, I'm going to have a 2 and an x inside the square root. Now, let's tidy everything up in the front. I have 11 times 11, 121. I have how many x's in the front grand total?
11.
Also 11. We seem to have a preponderance of 11s. How many y's do I have in the front grand total? 20. And left behind, there's a 2x. That's a tough question. Next. Yep.
Review number 1, number 12.
Find the GCF of 64 and 120. That one? Okay. So, find the GCF, GCG, Mr. Dewick, GCF clip of that there. Okay. By the way, just to contrast, how about over here, Anthony? So you can see them both in the same area and see how the approaches are the same and how the approaches are different. All right? For both of them, unless they're small numbers that I can do in my head, and I might be able to do 64 and 120 in my head. I know my times tables, but we'll do it the long way. We'll use either a factor tree or a division table to write the prime factorization. I want to write 64 as what times what times what times, and I want to write 120 as what times what times what times. That you need to know how to do for the test. Do you want me to do that, or are you okay on a factor tree? Does anybody want me to do the factor tree? Want me to do the factor tree? Okay. Here's 64. What goes into 64? 32 and 2. 2 is prime. What goes into 32? 2 and 16. What goes into that? Oh, I like that. She started going smaller numbers finally. Or bigger numbers. 4 and 4, none of which are prime. It's a 2. It's a 2. It's a 2. In fact, 64 is 2 to the 6th. What about 120? 12 and 10, both of which are not prime. Oh, but 10 is 2 and 5. What's 12?
6.
You know what? 12 is 2 times 2, here the 4, times 3. I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to do it in one step. Is that okay? 120 is 2 cubed times 3 times 5. Over here, we're going to have 64 equals 2 to the 6th, and 120 equals 8 times 3 times 5. 2 cubed is 8. Anthony, with you so far? GCF, what I'm saying is, if I wrote these out, I would circle pairs. If I wrote out 6 2s and I wrote out 3 2s and a 3. The GCF is going to be, are there 2s in everything? What's the fewest number of 2s you have in everything? Are there 3s in everything? Are there 5s in everything? Then they're not common. That means your greatest common factor is that, which ends up being, Anthony, an 8. What about the LCM? So that's G. What about the least common multiple? Now I'm saying I have to cover everything. Is there a 2 in anything? Yeah. What's the biggest exponent I need to cover? I need to have 6 2s. Is there a 3 in anything? And you'll notice I'm going to include the 3 for the least common multiple. It doesn't have to be in both. How can I remember that? I don't know, memorize it. Which is going to be 900 and what?
60.
There's the least common multiple. That's the smallest number they both go into. The greatest common factor is the biggest number that goes into both of them. Okay? I'm definitely going to give you a couple of those to do, and they will be numbers that are big enough that you're going to have to use this method. Next. Yep. Study guide 19B. This one here? Oh, another Pythagoras one? Were you tuning in on the first one? Were you paying attention to during the first Pythagoras that we did a few minutes ago that Angela asked? This one here? Yeah? Good. Then I'm going to pick on you. You ready? It's Pythagoras. What's the equation for Pythagoras? What squared plus what squared equals what squared? Woohoo! Sit up proud and tall knowing that one. And Carton, do you remember I said there was one thing you had to remember. What does the C have to be? Got to be the hypotenuse. In our case, won't always be X. We did somewhere the number was there. Yes? A and B, it doesn't matter. I'll go 2 root 3 for A and 3. Usually, when in doubt, I read from left to right, and the first one I see is A, second one I see is B. That's just so my work looks like everyone else's. Oh, I think I like this question. 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 So far, so good? Let's keep going. Hey, what is 2 root 3 all squared? It means 2 root 3 times 2 root 3. It really means 2 times 2 times root 3 times root 3. Nate, my friend, what is 2 times 2? I did Nate. Karn, I even called you Karn earlier. Karn, my friend, what is 2 times 2? What's root 3 squared, or root 3 times root 3? No. Okay, it's root 9, which is... That's really what that works out to. Can you see the 4 times 3 that is hidden in the original? It's going to be 12 on my next line. Yes, 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 yes. What's 3 root 5 squared? Numbers first. What's 3 squared? Karn, did it again. Wow. What's 3 squared? 9. What's root 5 squared? This, my friend, works out to 12 plus 45. What is 12 plus 45? I get x squared equals 57. How do I get rid of a squared? So x is going to be the square root of 57. 57 is not prime, by the way, whoever said it's prime. I know 3 goes into it because 5 plus 7 is 12. It's 3 times 19. Is there a perfect square hidden anywhere inside a 3 or a 19? Okay, then you know what? That's in simplest radical form already. We are done like dinner. Any others? Any more? Going once, going twice. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. On the like study guide.
On the like study guide? How about on exactly like the study guide?
Yeah, on the study guide. For number 18, what were we supposed to do for that one?
I don't know. Let me see. This one here?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So it says for each of the following, write what? What does it say, Rachel?
All these sets of numbers to which a given number belongs.
Rach, do you remember this question from the quiz? That's assignment 4. Do you remember this question from the quiz where I gave you this? Here, instead of me giving you the Venn diagram, I'm saying, okay, tell me this first number. Is it natural or not? If it is, put an N. Is it whole or not? If it is, put a W. If it's integer or not. So just list them all. So for the question that you're asking me, for example, -5, I, it's an integer. Q, it's rational. R, it's real. But it is not a whole number, and it is not a natural number. B, hey, what is the square root of 100? This is 10, which, you know what? 10 is a natural number, and that automatically means it's a whole number, and it's an integer, and it's rational, and it's real. Is that okay for the rest of that? Yep. I think most of that I asked is kind of multiple choice-y stuff. Okay. Any others? Naomi, were you having a question? No? Okay. Let's go back to the very beginning of my tutorial then. The best hint I can give you. Definitely work through the Unit 1 study guide. Second best hint I can give you, I tried to make the other assignments and homework tougher than the test. I love the fact, by the way, most of the questions you guys are asking me today, about half of them, I'm not going to ask you anything that tough on the test, which means if you got the hang of it, hopefully when you get to that section on the test, you'll be going, that's it? In fact, maybe you'll even be going,
that was easy.
right? There's our goal. I hope. Okay? I am around tomorrow morning a little bit, like I get here at around 8, but no guarantees with traffic. So Mr. Gerard is usually here in the morning if you're looking for some last-minute help on Thursday for those of you who are Block G. I'm probably going to eat my lunch tomorrow because my last 6 lunches, 5 of them I've had meetings. So I'm not going to do a tutorial at lunch. I just did one today after school. Let me just pause the video. I will throw this video online underneath Block C and Block G.